to open a program, gave it to her, will you marry me? And so, and we knew
Good
that it was-
morning.
yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, January 6th meeting of the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners. Have many visitors with us today as we have the new swearing in for the newly elected officers. And at this point, would you please join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome to the meeting this morning. I'd like to start out by introducing the current Board of Commissioners. Deb Shore, my immediate left. Brent Smoyer. Brent, we want to thank you for your service. We're going to miss you. You've made a difference. Jane Raybolt. Jane, you two been a tremendous addition these last 4 years, and we're certainly going to miss you. And Roma Amundsen. Assisting us this morning from the County Attorney's Office is Brittany Behrens. Brittany's seated over here. And Carrie Egan, our Executive Director for the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners, is to the right desk here. And then clerking this morning will be Ann Taylor from the County Attorney's Office. And to begin the agenda will be Dan Nolde, our County Clerk.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 this morning, presentations. 1A is oath of office ceremony for county elected officials, the Honorable Robert Ott.
And if Judge Ott would like to come forward in the center, we're going to have all the elected officials come up here on the dais, and the county board will move over to the side so that you can take some good pictures.
Judges for the 3rd Judicial District, which is Lancaster County. On behalf of the District Court judges, I want to congratulate you all for your elections and extend that congratulations from us, the other members of the judicial system here in Lancaster County, Juvenile Court, County Court, and our staffs. If you all have your oath or have it memorized, maybe repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Nebraska.
And the Constitution of the State of Nebraska.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for purpose of evasion.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of your office.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of County Clerk.
According to law and to the best of my ability.
According to law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
and that during such time as I am in this position,
and that during such time as I am in this position,
I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
and that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence.
So help me God.
So help me God.
We need some bigger print on
And I want to thank all of you for coming today, and we have kind of a unique situation. Senator Avery is still a senator till tomorrow, so officially our two commissioners will not actually be taking office until Thursday morning when we do reorganization for the county board. So we appreciate all of you coming today. Thank you, and good luck to all the newly elected officers of Lancaster County. County government is probably the truest form of democracy that still exists in the United States. It's very close to the people. People have a say and a voice, and it's an honor to be a part of it. With that, Mr. Clerk, would you proceed with item B?
There's improvement fund grant in the amount of $10,000 to Star City BMX for track improvements.
Just a minute. Could I get you to move out in the hall so that we can keep on it going? Thank you.
Josh Larson, Star City BMX track operator. Greg and Tammy Thimigan, Star City BMX board members. Jeff Mall, Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau executive director. And Julie Latimer, Lancaster County Visitors Promotion Committee chair.
Well, Julie and Jeff, the floor is yours.
Well, Happy New Year to everybody, and Jane and Brent, thank you so much for your support of tourism this past term. We've enjoyed seeing you both, Brent, in the VPC meetings, and Jane, your support of everything that we do. I truly believe, and I stand up here every time that we talk to this group and talk about how passionate and excited I am for tourism in Lancaster County, and it is thanks to all of you, all 5 of you in the entire county, so thank you very much. We're here to talk about our somewhat quarterly updates of the Visitors Promotion Committee and grant requests that we have. This time around, we have a request by Star City BMX, and we're excited about it. It is a tourism destination for our organization. We're able to market various types of events, various BMX-related events. Lincoln. So with that, I'll have Julie talk about the recommendation, and then we'll have the folks from Star City BMX get up and say a few words.
Good morning. Happy New Year. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet because these folks have a lot more to say. This request is for $10,000 towards rebuilding the hill to make it taller, installing 2 retaining walls, pouring additional concrete on the staging area, and rebuilding the starting gate. These improvements will increase the club's potential to attract the annual state championship finals and Gold Cup qualifier events. Cost for this total project is $20,000, and they are more than willing to step up and take care of half of it. And so we are recommending approval of the total $10,000 grant request.
Okay.
I'm Tammy Timian with Star City BMX, the treasurer for the organization. The starting hill has been one of those things that it's where the start of the race occurs. And we've been very fortunate with the Visitors Bureau being able to help us support our projects in the past to create a better track facility, to create national races, which we had this past year that was very successful. And one of those things, that's one of the few things hopefully last on our list to improve, is that starting hill and make it more up to par as to what it should be. BMX is, as I have found, I've only been involved with it for 2 years, is a very family-oriented organization. Even when you have those little people on the track and they're trying to make that big hill they're trying to go up, there's a parent there on the side running to help them up and support them. And that's one of the things that has been most influential with me, or the parents at the end of the track saying good job to that little person who's made their own self-achievement at that. It is a community event. We have people come in. This last year when we had our national event, the folks that were here went down and enjoyed the Haymarket area and really liked the changes that they'd seen there. It's a great organization, a great family-friendly volunteer type of situation, and to me that's part of what community involvement from the ground up is about. Josh Larson is our track operator, and he can let you know a little bit more about what's going on with that starting hill.
Well, having this national list last year, we had a lot of compliments on the track and how nice it was and how far our facility has come in the last 4 years since our first national in 2010. But the starting hill is what we were really lacking on. Our starting hill right now stands about 4.5 foot tall from the bottom. And a lot of other tracks that are competing for these nationals are really improving their track by making their starting hill bigger. If you notice, like in the Olympics they start from a 3-story high starting hill. We're not looking to go that big, obviously, because we scare all the little kids off. But we would like to improve it to make it, it's gonna be about 10 foot when it's all said and finished from the bottom to the top. And that'll be good enough to make it more competitive for us older riders, but not too scary for the little riders.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the
So it's more or less it's our way to try to compete for getting this national annually. So.
Yep.
And we'd like to thank you again for all the support you guys have
Yes,
given us.
been very supportive.
Commissioner Shore?
2 questions. First of all, how tall do you think you're going to go? And then secondly, the national meets that you're competing for, it's 2-day event, or
It's a
we talk
weekend
about
event.
family events, coming in, staying in hotels, and
Last time we had, 'cause in Nebraska we have about a little over 100 riders. And our national event this last year, we had 730 riders come in from all over the country.
Yeah.
We had people coming from California all the way to New York, to Maine, all the way down to Florida come up the race.
Great. We have to put it in bid to the USA BMX to be able to apply to have that event here. And we've been lucky enough for the last couple of years because of the funding with the Visitors Bureau and the grants for those track improvements that helps continue that and bring in those visitors and from all over the place. It's been a very beneficial event, and they always seem to like our facility because it meets the criteria that they need in order to have a successful national event. So it's a very good win-win from the ABA, from the Visitors Bureau, to these grants that were given to continue that relationship.
Any further questions, comments? If not, Mr. Clerk, will you read accompanying item 5A, please?
Lancaster County Visitors Improvement Fund grant contract in the amount of $10,000 between Lancaster County sponsor and Star City BMX grantee for track improvements. Term of the contract is January 1st, 2015 to July 31st, 2015.
Move approval.
second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
guys.
much for your support.
Well, thank you for providing the opportunity, and there's probably no such thing as a bad kid. They just need to be motivated and inspired, and you're giving them something positive to do.
Yep.
Thank
that's
you.
right.
Thank you.
Next is 1C, recognition of County Commissioners Jane Raybold and Brent Smoyer for their dedicated service to the people of Lancaster County.
And if you two would like to go down in front of the podium, and Roma and Deb are going to make a little presentation. And both of you, you've truly made a difference. I've really enjoyed serving with both of you. You both brought different strengths. Brent, your knowledge of the legislature and what was going on over there really was valuable to us. I mean, you kind of knew that inside track and told us when it'd be appropriate to contact the senators and when it wouldn't, and the lay of the land plus the technical information. And good luck to you in the future. I understand you'll be back over at the legislature helping Senator Shield. And Jane, your facilities management of B&R stores and Super Saver helped us immensely as we went through the construction of the jail. You've had a lot of experience in those aspects, and certainly you have made a difference on this board. And sometimes I know there's some frustration when things don't move fast enough, and we in government probably don't move as fast as we could. But if you stay with it, you can effect change, and you certainly have done that. So we'd like to have both of you make a few comments about what you liked or what you didn't like about the county board, and we'll let ladies go first. So, see, Jane, we're open.
He said ladies first.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I have to tell everyone it really has been an honor and certainly a privilege to serve with so many amazing people in the county. And it's really so humbling to have the support and encouragement of so many. And I have to tell you, I have just thoroughly enjoyed representing the county on so many issues, and even the really tough ones, and taking on the tough ones. And I have learned so much. And I have to tell you, I enjoyed working with all the other elected officials. Yes, truly I have. I really have enjoyed working with them, even in challenging times and at the times when we would butt heads with one another. But I have learned a lot, and I'm grateful for their leadership. I have to tell you, I have loved working with the Lancaster County Board staff, and that includes Carrie and Gwen and Dennis and Minette and Liz, and of course all the folks in all throughout the county. Lancaster County is so fortunate. We have such a great group of employees that are dedicated to excellence and professionalism, and I can tell you it has been a privilege to work with you. And I think our constituents need to know that we have a great team at the helm, and I always am so proud to say Lancaster County has been so progressive and leads the way in so many things, and it's really a tribute to all of you, and I'm so proud to have really worked with you all. And I have to tell you, throughout my 4 years, there have been some amazing highlights, but there have been some tough times and tough moments. But I think we got through them. I know that the redistricting was a real tough issue to work through. And at times I felt it was a little bit too politically self-serving, and at times we forgot that we had to keep in mind our constituents. But we worked through that, and hopefully we've mended fences and we're able to get forward with governing and working together. And I have to tell you, I have never been prouder to work with you all when we have chosen officials to replace those elected officials that have retired. I cannot say we all came together as a team and worked very hard. And our focus was really to choose the most qualified candidate first and foremost. And I think the county is a beneficiary of some amazing hires, like Troy Hawk, clerk of the district court, and Pam Dingman, county engineer, and Jim David Saver as our emergency management director. And I can see that we've worked hard with the human services director application, and Lancaster County is in great hands, I assure you, and I am so proud of that. And I know that we worked hard together. Sometimes it was a little bit hesitant on the retirement match, reducing the retirement match for new employees, but it was a challenging issue, but I think we kept our eye on the focus to make sure that we look forward to the future and trying to provide tax savings to our constituents by trying to keep those retirement benefits in line. And I was proud that we got that worked out. And it took 4 years working with the unions, and that was a wonderful experience as well. And I'm also really proud that we stuck together when it came to Medicaid expansion. And I know that sounds very unpopular, but it's a form of property tax relief that we have been always championing and working together on. And certainly with Governor-elect Pete Ricketts, I know he will work with the legislature on that and realizing that is a form of property tax relief to certainly Lancaster County of about $2.8 million, which we certainly need going forward in the future to help bridge our deficits. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud of the work that we've done with the Community Mental Health Center and transitioning that to the amazing nonprofit providers and service providers in our county. I know it was probably the most challenging situation that we have encountered because it's such a vulnerable population, but we slowed down the process. We were very deliberate. We studied it. We reached out to the community, the consumers, the family of the consumers, the nonprofit providers, the employees, to make sure that we did it right, and we slowed the process down. And it's frightening, and it was change, but I'm really proud that we had all the focus groups and worked with all these groups to make sure that we did it right, and we did the right thing. So I'm truly proud, and I am very proud to have worked with the county board. At times we butted heads, and sometimes we didn't always agree, but it was really a privilege to serve with you all. And I hopefully we'll work together in the future and our paths will cross. And I have to say a big thank you to my family and my company. We've been always involved in community work and community outreach, and I thank them for allowing me to have this opportunity to serve, because they know it's my passion to be involved in public service, and they have been so good and kind and gracious to allow me that time to do so. And I am very honored and privileged to have served with so many of you, so thank you all very much.
Well, Jane, we were honored to have you work with us, and your generosity as we went out to the food bank and distributed the food. We saw that a lot of it came from Super Saver and the hams that the people in need and those sorts of things. So, again, you've made a difference, and Commissioner Shore has got a little something that she wants to give you.
Just a small token of our appreciation for your 4 years of service. Thank you for your kind words. You certainly did hit the highlights of issues that we have struggled and successfully come to conclusion over the past 4 years. When I think about you, I'll think about your tenacity and the fact that you always did the research, you always did the reading, you always came prepared, you always had the great questions, and I look forward to working with you. We certainly will be calling on you for a task force or a committee at some point in the future, because your skills and talents are unique, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Brent, your turn.
And you know, I'm probably not as organized as Jane was, which is usually the case, sadly. You know, I spent some time trying to think about the last words I would share with you guys and the way I would say goodbye. And I'm not very good at goodbyes. I'm actually terrible at goodbyes, so here goes. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the people of Lancaster County, specifically Northeast Lincoln, Davie, Waverly. It's truly been an experience that I would not trade for the world. I know we went through some headaches and heartburn with budgets, with any number of the items that Jane brought up, but we got through it. We survived. We are survivors. We are people who are dedicated to making sure that the government works for the people. I guess I look back and I look at this honoree, and I kind of say, well, 4 years, I mean, what did we do? We did our jobs. The idea of serving the public is to come in and do the job. It's to come in and make the tough decisions so that other folks don't have to. And we do that with the best interest of the public in mind. And I'm proud to say that Jane and I and this entire board have made those decisions. We've done those things. We've taken the slings and arrows, and we worked diligently for the public and their trust. And so I guess I feel blessed that I had that opportunity. I wish I could do more. Maybe one day, who knows, maybe one day you'll find me back here. I'm like a bad penny. I do have a way of turning up. But the fact is, it has been an honor and a privilege. It's a blessing working with every Lancaster County employee, every Lancaster County elected official, appointed official. We have a great group. And I will cherish this time forever, but these 4 years just went by far too quickly. I guess the only thing I can really say, and I know Jane summed up how awesome our staff was. In fact, frankly, I don't know how I'm going to get by without my net babysitting me. But I mean, she really was. She kept me whipped into shape. But it has been a blessing and an honor. And to Todd and Senator Avery, I wish you the very best. You didn't sign up for an easy gig, and of course, I think you know that. And it's going to get tougher. It's going to always be tougher. But you work together. You fight hard, and you never lose your head, and we're going to succeed. I think you guys are fantastic. This job has been fantastic. This opportunity has been fantastic. And again, to my fellow elected officials, and then to Roma, Jane, Larry, Deb, you've all been fantastic. This just absolutely fantastic. And I guess this is goodbye.
Well, Brent, we certainly appreciate everything that you have done, and every time I go across Safe Crossing in Waverly, we'll always think about you. And then the dedication that you give to the Visitors and Promotion Committee. I can't recall a commissioner that's worked any harder or kept the board more informed about those moves. And as we brought on Panicle and as we continue to advance the Lancaster Event Center, you've been pivotal in getting that relationship across. And so your dedication, particularly on those two things, as well as everything else, and then making the hard decisions on the budget and everything. We had a melting pot of ideas, but we always came together and made a decision. And usually when we got done, it was usually 5-0. And that's a credit to both of you. I think we're going to see more of Jane and more of you in the future. And at least you understand county government. No matter where you go, you're going to understand it from the ground up. And that's an attribute that you can hang your hat on. And Commissioner Edmondson's got a little something and a few words for you.
Okay, well, hey, here you go, Brent. To watch the passage of time in the future.
Well, thank you so much.
And listen, I tell you what, I've really enjoyed working with you. When I started running for this 2 years ago, I came up to you and I said, hey, Brent, what do I need to know? And you gave me a list of things to know, and it's really impressive, all the things that, so anyway, thank you for all of the guidance you gave me and so forth, and you were a great example. And the one thing that I really wanted to say is that you are an example of a public servant. Here you serve, you also serve in the unicameral. And so keep up that work, and we look forward to seeing you in the future in other jobs.
Now come back up here and get to work.
2 are minutes, approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, December 16th, 2014.
Move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? If not, will you call the roll, please, Mr. Clerk?
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 are claims, approval of all claims processed through Tuesday, January 6, 2015.
Move approval of the claims.
Second?
Discussion? Call the roll.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins. Motion carries 5-0.
Now, Mr. Clerk, with the permission of the county board, we've had a request to move item JJ up. We've got people waiting in the audience. Would that be okay with the board if we altered the agenda and did that? So would you read item JJ, please?
This is under new business. A refund request from John Honvelas for overpayment of 2011, 12, and 13 property taxes.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Chairman, members of the board, I appreciate you moving me up, and in order to get that done, I had to promise to be very brief, and I will.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Jim Lewis. I represent the Honveleses in their claim for reimbursement of overpayment of property taxes. First of all, I apologize for giving you additional reading material, but I did that in order to try to document and support the bullet points that I made on the first page of my outline here, which basically is the basis of Mr. Honveles's claim. And each particular item I have tried to support. It's really a very simple matter. Mr. Honveles farms a piece of property of about 156 acres near Denton. And since about 1990, he's had that farm, or about 90 acres of that farm, in CRP ground. Back some years ago, the CRP ground was identified as dry land and not necessarily had a different classification. In 2009, the regulations of the Department of Revenue changed that so that CRP was given a definite classification and was moved to grassland. And in his particular property, that was not done. And if you look at the part of your book, which is basically appraisal cards, it shows that originally back in 2013, it only shows 3 acres of grassland, when in fact it should be 90 acres of grassland, and that is shown in the next 2014 and 2015 appraisal cards. I've identified for you a variety of statutes and regulations which not only say that the appraiser has the obligation of correctly classifying that property, but also that property needs to be classified because it's different in terms of valuation than dry land, which can be row cropped. And so since CRP, or the Conservation Reserve Program, is taken out of production, that is actually valued less. So Mr. Honvelez is asking that you go back to 11, 12, and 13 and reimburse him for those overpayment of taxes, because this property was always taxed differently as dry land and not CRP. I've included a case in there for 2 reasons. The Supreme Court supports the statute or the regulations that say it should be a different classification, and that you're entitled to a refund to go back 3 years. But secondly, to show that there are certain circumstances where it's not appropriate. And in the case I gave you, they basically said that in that case, because the claimant had determined on his own that some of his property was personal property as opposed to real property, and made payments voluntarily, that voluntary payment was not refundable. They've determined under the statutes and regulations in Nebraska that if it's an involuntary payment, the result of a clerical error or a mistake of fact, then it is potentially you have the ability to refund that property, or that overpayment of taxes. I've gone back, and I tell you, I talked to the county assessor and tried to determine how they calculate values, and unlike Brent, I don't know the workings of county government that well, but I couldn't determine how they actually calculated 11, 12, and 13 taxes. I did note, and you will see in your booklet, that there was a reduction of 28 or 27.8% for 2014 taxes based on the correction. So in other words, they reduced his taxes for 2014 by 27.8%. That was done by the referee and then affirmed by the Board of Commission. All I did then was went back for 11, 12, and 13, totaled up his taxes, and reduced it by 28%, and it comes up to a grand total of $4,790 of overpayment of taxes for those 3 years. Now, that may not be the most sophisticated method to determine reimbursement, but I figured it was probably close. We're asking either that he is given a credit for that $4,790 against the taxes that have not yet been paid, or that you go back through that procedure in the statute I've set out of 77-1736 to determine, or have the assessor determine what that overpayment actually is from that 11, 12, and 13 years.
Okay.
That's the extent of our claim, yes.
Any questions for Mr. Lair? Okay, Mr. Ogden from the County Assessor's Office, your side of the story.
Rob Ogden, Chief Deputy County Assessor. The explanation is 2014, the values for these 2 parcels were appealed to the Board of Equalization. The corrections in the land uses were found by the referee system. At that time, then, we did the recalculation of what the values were based on the actual uses at that time. We have carried that forward to the next year, which will be coming out soon. For prior years, we've sent out value notices every year since 2008 of value changes on these 2 properties. It's up to the property owner to bring to us any changes or errors that we have made in a listing of a property. While it's different, it's similar to if we've called a house that has 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, then we don't know about it unless somebody informs us. We do reviews of all parcels in the county every 6 years by statute, but we can't catch everything without the property owner responsible to make sure that they verify that what we have is accurate. We do carry all this information on our website, so I'll leave it at that. And for the more technical part, I'll let Brittany talk to you about the law.
Okay, Mr. Lear, response?
And the only thing I would say about that is I'd call the board's attention to Revenue Section 14-004.04, which I've provided in your booklet, which basically says that the classes of agricultural property is the responsibility, or to accurately classify, is the responsibility of the assessor. Secondly, Mr. Ogden mentioned 2 parcels. We're only claiming 1 parcel. The other parcel, for some reason, was accurately maintained as grassland. I don't know why, but they did modify the value on that parcel up after his protest, but it wasn't based on that mistake of CRP.
So the 3 acres that was previously grassland stayed the same, but the CRP was put into dry land?
No. The other parcel that he reflected was part of an original protest. It was a Section 22. In that case, the CRP was actually identified as grassland for those 3 years. Now, it wasn't in the section that we are talking about today.
The other changes to that parcel were additional wasteland that we found.
But that's not part of our claim.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Questions by the board? And Brittany Behrens, Deputy County Attorney. There are certainly some limitations on what the county board can do in this instance, and would you like to cover some of that with us, please?
Yes, I think the best place to start is probably the statutory definition of clerical error, and 77-128 states that a clerical error means a transposition of numbers, mathematical error, computer malfunction causing programming and printing errors, data entry errors, items of real property other than land identified on the wrong parcel, incorrect ownership, or certification of an incorrect valuation to the political subdivision. In our opinion, and without having had an opportunity to look at Mr. Lure's booklet that he supplied, I think that the sticking point here is the ability to go back with regard to a clerical error would mean that the issue in question needs to meet the definition of a clerical error, and it would be the county attorney's position that the situation here is more appropriately classified as perhaps a listing error, and doesn't fit the definition of a clerical error authorizing the board to go back and refund the 2011, 2012, and 2013. I also think that it's important to note that I believe that the reason this is the only remedy on the table at this point is, as Mr. Ogden appropriately mentioned, the protests were not filed in 2011, 2012, or 2013. It wasn't until 2014 that an appeal or protest was timely filed, and at that point in time, when the information was brought forward from the landowner to the assessor register of deeds office, the correction was made through the referee process. So at this point, I think the only authorization that the board has before you is to address this as to whether it's a clerical error or not.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lear?
Very briefly, the reason I put a booklet together like this was precisely for this reason, because it is confusing. But if you look at 77-1734.01, it talks about a clerical error or an honest mistake. And it also talks about requiring the claimant to make their claim within 3 years. So that's why you're allowed to go back 3 years. I also enclosed the case that I made reference to earlier that talks about a clerical error or an honest mistake of fact. And that is included in the definition of clerical error for purposes of refunding overpaid property taxes. And that's why I included all this, because it is confusing, and hopefully you'll be able to review all of this and take that into consideration.
And I guess the decision we have here is if you seek more information or if you want to make a ruling based. What you have is a request for $4,790 for back taxes, which you think were improperly paid.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
Brittany,
Commissioner Roman?
Can you clarify also the definition that we have just heard? Does it include an honest mistake of fact?
I think that the interpretation of honest mistake in fact has been narrowly construed by our office historically in not including information that is the responsibility of the landowner to be brought forward and protested when they receive their notice of valuation. and historically that's been the position, is that this type of error isn't included in the contemplation in 173401 of an honest mistake or mistake of fact.
The only problem with that is if it was changed in 2009, unbeknownst to the general public, and somehow you then have to figure out that your CRP now, which was once upon a time identified under dry land, is now supposed to be identified as grassland. How's the general public supposed to be aware of that? And then I would again point out that revenue department that says the classification of agricultural property is supposed to be the responsibility of the assessor.
Commissioner Emerson?
I do have a question in regard to the, at what point did the claimant determine that he was overpaying? Would he not have seen that earlier? What in 2011, 12, and 13? What is the, there is the responsibility of the landowner. And so what I'm just wondering is that what caused it in 2014 to trigger that notice?
I think what happened is in a year before, the taxes for that property was like $4,000. It then went up to $7,500. And I think that wasn't because he realized it was taxed wrong, it was because he was protesting the value of the land at that point in time. He only determined it was taxed wrong when he went to the assessor's office and they told him that was a classification error. And that's why the referee agreed with him that his taxes were too high. So it was he just generally protested the value. It wasn't necessarily that he thought that it was classified wrong. He didn't realize that. It was an honest mistake, which is, quote, part of the definition of clerical error.
Mr. Ogden?
Just to clarify, in 2009, when the law was changed, over the next several years, we reviewed all the aerial photos of all the ag land. There's about 12,000 ag land parcels in the county. And to the best of our ability, based on the aerials, we adjusted the properties that we could tell were in grass as grassland. Now, as you know, you can't always tell from an aerial, depending on the time of year, what the classification is. We did the best we could with what information we had. And as soon as we received additional information, we did the correction.
And I'm not being critical of the assessor. It just is an honest mistake.
That's what you're saying. It's an honest mistake. Yeah.
And every year the value has gone up on these two parcels from 2008 till 2014, as you know, because of the ag land situation.
It has, but not to the degree that it jumped, and that's what brought it to his attention. And I also enclosed those tax charges in that little booklet that I provided to you.
Keep that. Okay, Commissioner Shore.
Rob, you mentioned a mailing goes out to property owners every year, correct?
If they have a value change.
If they have a value change, in this case they did. On that card, does it show the number of acres in grassland and wasteland in CRP?
On the valuation notice, no, but it gives access to where the website is to check all the information.
Okay. And when we do protests, I know that probably the majority of the issues have to do with ag land, valuation increases. But how frequently does this happen, that the classification is incorrect, or number of bedrooms are incorrect, or number of baths are incorrect?
Almost every year, if there's a change warranted in the ag land valuation portion, it's because of classification errors.
Okay.
It's either wasteland, or it's dry that should be grass, or it's irrigated that should be dry. It's
classification.
Okay, so you'd say this situation happens frequently?
This is a fairly frequent thing that happens that we do catch because we don't have access to FSA information. We only have access to our aerials. They're flown every 3 years. And to just drive by an agricultural property, you really can't tell what's there from the driveway.
So there is quite a reliance then on the property owner.
Yes.
In your time in the county assessor's office, and I guess Brittany, yours with the county attorneys, have we ever approved a refund request like this?
Not that I am aware of.
And you've been there how many years?
12 now, this time around.
Commissioner Rabel.
So Rob and Brittany, historically, how does the assessor's office made aware of these changes in classification? Then how does it get brought to your attention? What is the process?
Well, the property owner usually will come to us, or they come to the Board of Equalization referee during the summer. And that's how we find the differences. Also, in our 6-year cycle of reviewing the aerials, we'll catch things on our own.
Further questions?
The only additional comment I might have in regard to Ms. Shore's statement, unlike a classification of dry land versus wetland, or dry land versus irrigated property, that's an obvious issue to the landowner, where they don't have a CRP classification. Then how is the homeowner or the agricultural owner supposed to know that CRP is supposed to be designed as or identified as grassland, which was a change in 2009? So how was he ever going to know that his classification was wrong, regardless of what was sent out to him? And so I guess all I could say is there's always a first. There's always a first time.
Sure. And then I guess I have a question for Larry. Larry, how do you go about verifying and checking your land to make sure the classification is?
I had the same thing happen to me that happened to Mr. Hovlitz, and just in a review later on, we caught it after the fact, because I think Commissioner Shore asked a key question: how does a landowner know that this is CRP? Because there isn't a designation when you send out your valuation. You really don't know. But I do understand it's the property owner's responsibility to inform or to file a protest. And in this case, when he filed the protest, that's what brought it to light, and that's when we made the correction.
But realize that this has been in CRP since 1990. It was Mr. Hovlitz's father who owned it. So there's no doubt in my mind that when he placed the land in CRP, he alerted the county to that. So it was, he did his responsibility. It hasn't changed since 1990. So it's not like there's a failure of responsibility on the part of the homeowner or the agricultural owner. Is he supposed to come in every year and say it's now it's still CRP, it's still CRP?
Because it did change.
Thank you.
No easy decisions. What are the wishes of the board? Do you have a request for a refund?
I have a question, one more question, Rob. How many times has this been brought before your department or Brittany? I mean, this seems somewhat unique, or is...
It's not really unique.
No, okay.
It is.
One thing that you need to realize is we don't see CRP contracts unless it's brought to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the 2009 law change, once we knew that happened, we did the best we can with the aerials we had to correct anything that would have been shown as dry land that was grassland.
Then what resources do property owners have to verify and make sure, with the value of land increasing, I think everyone is probably more vigilant than in the past, but how is a property owner able to go back and say, wait, those 10 acres should have been classified as this, and that 50 acres should be classified as something else?
We have aerial full photos that are on the web that actually do show land use for a different layer.
But Mr. Ogden, you've got to realize that a lot of these are elderly landowners that don't even have internet.
And it's still their responsibility to verify. They can ask for a property record card, and rather than turn that on, I'll just pass this around. This is a property record card. It has a breakdown of all the land uses and their soil types. And they can review that every year to see changes or to see if it reflects what is on their FSA report.
When you make a change from classification, do you send the landowner a copy of this?
No.
Okay.
We send them a value notice change.
But they don't know
Like-
exactly what
Just like
made the
with the
value.
residents, if we make a change from a 3-bath to a 2-bath, we don't send what change we made, we send what the value change is.
I understand the question, Larry, that you had about computer access, but if people were to call in, you would print it out and mail it to them, or they could come into the office?
Either one.
It's not
Just because they
solely
don't have access to a computer doesn't mean they can't get it from us. They can call us and we would send it to them.
And another question, when you get your CRP payments, does it tell you what you're being paid for? I mean, I guess, because those acres are being paid to stay out of production. And so when you get your check for, I don't know, $200, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, wouldn't it say it's for 23 acres that are in CRP? I mean, doesn't it specify what it is?
No, the government is in an effort to save paper reduction, they don't identify it by the acres or even a legal description anymore. It goes by a tract number. And the average landowner has no idea what that tract number is unless they go to the FSA office and get it reduced down. So in an effort to be more efficient, it's probably less informative.
Okay.
With FSA not being an agency that will give us any of their records without the property owner giving them for us, we're really hand-tied that way. If we had access, if that was public record.
And why isn't it?
This is what perplexed me. I didn't realize that you didn't have access a couple years ago when I found there was an error in my property, but I understand they will not share those records with you anymore. In the old days, you used to have somebody. In fact, you had a person that correlated the FSA, or in that case, the ASCS office, with this, so you
Yes.
were able to look. But because of the privacy laws now, you don't have access to that in all
Access to
fairness.
it. We used to have access years ago. It did help. We don't have that access now. We do the best we can with the information we have, and we do rely on the property owner to make sure their record is correct.
Mr. Lear, one more
I
time.
promised it'd be a brief issue, but
It's complicated.
It's
the
complicated.
assessor is not claiming, I hope, that they never knew this land was in CRP, because that's been the way it's taxed, and it's been taxed since 1993. It was dry land was the way it was originally characterized, and that's the way it always was. So for them to say we didn't have this knowledge, or we couldn't find out, or whatever, or we tried our best and didn't know it, they always knew that was CRP. The classification changed. They simply didn't change the classification on the property. And now they're saying we should have known they didn't change that classification, those acres, and we should have brought that to their attention.
So in other words, what you're saying is you're saying this is more of a data entry
Absolutely.
type problem than it is classification.
Absolutely. It was CRP forever.
We have no records. We only keep records back 5 years. We have no records of what was done 20 years ago. I don't know whether his statement is right, wrong, or indifferent. I can't answer that. So
if you only keep records 5 years and CRP is 10-year documents, then you never know if any property's in CRP. And you're saying we always have to go out and do aerials, which doesn't make any sense to me. Again, I'm not familiar with the county government workings, but that doesn't make a lot of sense.
we base it on the land use is basically what we've gone to now that the law changed in 2009. We have to base it on the area, we have to base it on inspections, we have to base it on property owners informing us.
Commissioner Rabel.
So Rob, when those notices are going out about the valuation of the property, do you offer a disclaimer and a responsibility of the property owner, particularly with ag land and how confusing ag land values can be, or the designation and classification? Do you say in the notices that go out, it is the responsibility of each individual property owner to verify using all the resources that they have that can document the classification to determine the appropriate valuation, and the property owner is the responsible party to file timely, that appeal for the valuation. So, I mean, is there that satisfactory disclaimer that most people like to see on everything to absolve them of any responsibility and making it solely the responsibility of the property owner? Because I can see right now it's very confusing, and I can see that there is some merit to all the discussion that has gone on. So maybe going forward, there is a ironclad disclaimer making it solely the property owner's responsibility. But I don't know, Brittany, what are your thoughts?
Legally, it is very simply and basic. It is a notice of valuation change. So that is the only notice that is being sent, is the valuation change itself. There is no additional information. It simply is a notice of valuation change.
Commissioner Edmondson.
I do have a question on that law that was passed in 2009. So the county assessor has to make their determinations based upon aerials. Is that what it is? An aerial shot? It's based upon the homeowner's input. And what was the third item? What were the three things to determine valuations?
Well, we rely on any information given to us by the property owner.
Property owner.
By the aerials, by actual inspection of the property.
Actual inspection.
And honestly, ag land's no different than a house.
Right.
Where we don't get inside the houses.
Inside the house.
So we have the best information we have from the past, and if informed, we will correct records when we know what has happened. We do, on residential and ag and all parcels in the county, do a review of them every 6 years. And without the help of the public, we can't be assured of everything being perfect, but we do it to the best of our ability.
I guess I'd like to ask a question. When the Department of Revenue, the legislature instituted this change through the Department of Revenue, when they told you about the change in 2009, how did they tell you, or how were you notified, and was there any instructions on how you deliver that information back to the landowner, which would have no way of knowing that?
It would have been a change in statute, would be all. And I honestly don't know. You have to pay attention to what gets done. But what we did was try to go back and review all the aerials to make sure if it looked like grass, it was classified as grass as opposed to dry land.
Do you have access to the soils maps? I believe you do, don't you?
We do have the soils maps.
On the geological surveys.
Those are they are also
So it's a little
on the
bit
website.
different than a house, as you stated earlier. You do have some information about what's out there,
Now, we
and you don't
soils,
have
we
to have
no
permission
idea
to go.
what the use is, unless
Well, if you would,
we look at them. But as you can say, every 3 years we have an aerial flight.
that's your best reference point.
Best reference point, unless somebody brings in their current FSA map, or if they bring in their CRP contract, or on a residence, if they get a permit out that shows they finished their basement, those kind of items.
Just for our viewing public and for the rest of the commissioners, why this is such a big issue now is these old CRP payments at that point were so low that they don't even pay the taxes on the ground now. In cases we have $70 to $90 an acre or even higher property taxes because of the increase in ag land property taxes in recent years, and the old contracts before they're renewed did not even cover it. So when you got a big increase in your taxes like that, that's when you started asking questions.
And that is precisely one of the issues that brought us here today.
Just for clarification, we have never before classified this type of quote-unquote error as a clerical error.
Be the position of the county attorney's office that this doesn't fit the definition of a clerical error, and I think what Jim is more specifically pointing to is a data entry error. And again, it would be our position that the information that they had, the data was not, there was no entry of data. There was no error made with regard to that data being entered.
Okay. And is this a typical conversation to have at the county board meeting as opposed to Board of Equalization? What makes this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a request for clerical error, refund of property taxes, real property
Okay.
taxes, is not a Board of Equalization
And then
matter.
my
It's not a
final question,
protest.
if would the reverse be true? If we were to classify this as a quote-unquote clerical error, and we found a situation where more taxes were
due.
required, would we have the ability to go out and recover those?
No, it still would not be a clerical error. And it's talking about the
Start
statute.
saying this is a clerical error.
Would
No,
we
and
have
the
the right-
statute is talking about a request for a refund.
Fund,
Yeah.
okay.
But would we have the authority to go back to that property owner and say, oh, I'm sorry, we undervalued or we misclassified?
right. That's my question.
You owe us this additional
Yeah.
amount for the years
Right,
of
because
2010, 11,
we would be
12,
saying now that
13.
it was a data error.
Do we have that recourse as,
Not under this particular section. I
But
can't
we do
think
have a
of-
way of doing it.
That's, yeah.
If,
We're getting an education today.
if we came across something that we found out, hey, it was really something else, we can't go back and fix it until the next year,
Okay.
even if it needs to go up. Now, the one exception would be
Omitted
in the
property.
area where it's an omitted property that they didn't inform us if they were in the area where they don't have to take out a permit and they build a house.
Right, but that's
There's
not
a
this
small
situation.
little area left
Okay.
anymore that's that way, and they build a house.
without
and
permits?
Nobody informed us,
Okay.
and then we come across it later. That's the
That's the only time. Okay, okay,
And there's completely separate statutory
Statutes that deal with
sections
that, okay.
on omitted property.
okay.
Two things, real quick. First of all, with regards to the clerical error, it has been defined as an honest mistake of fact. It's not just a typo. It's beyond that, and that's why I gave you both the statute that talks about the procedure for refunds, as well as the case law that talks about it. Secondly, the reason we're in the appropriate spot here before you guys is because the referee found that there was that error and gave them, for the future, a reduction in taxes based upon that clerical error. The procedure is specifically set out in 77-1736 for seeking a refund, and it's statutory. So I don't know if there's a statutory procedure for seeking more money for the past years.
yeah, right.
But there certainly is one for, and it says before you guys.
And they set the limit as 3 years prior, is that correct?
It's 3 years from the date of his protest, so it can't go back any further than 3 years, yes.
Well, I will make a motion that is probably not something that the county attorney would like me to say or make, but I do in this case move that we refund the request for the overpayment of 2011, 2012, and 2013 property taxes in the amount of
$790.
$4,790.
Is there a second? The chair will second the motion for discussion purposes. I do not know that that amount might necessarily be correct. I think that amount, if it were found to be something that the county owed back, I think would have to be calculated on what the actual CRP acreage reduction was, or the shift in property. Commissioner Amundson.
I think that on both sides of the argument, there is merit, okay? And I can see all of this. On the other hand, as far as the county assessor is concerned, they do the best that they can. And in that regard, it is absolutely necessary that in support of the county assessor, that we do have the property owner come in. On the other hand, it is true also that there was a error or whatever. But I also do think, though, that we have to abide a little bit by the fact that had he come in earlier to go to the referee, it's very likely that that mistake would have been found out in 2013, 2012, 2011, had he come in. I guess that I really think that if we were to offer a refund in this, and this is only an estimate on your part, because you took roughly the 28%, I think that we could really be opening up a Pandora's box of issues. I think that we need to base it upon the fact that it is a referee's decision, too.
And I will be voting against the motion based upon the advice of the county attorney and their definition of clerical error.
Okay, any other comments? We do have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please, Mr. Clerk.
Amundson,
No.
Smoyer,
No.
Shore,
No.
Raybold,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion fails 3-2.
Okay, next we'll ask the clerk to return to the public hearing, 4A.
This is a request to vacate Southwest 31st Street, south of West Denton Road, to the north lot line of Outlot I, the Bridges Addition, Lancaster County, Nebraska.
We've all had a briefing on this by planning.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Sarah Hartzell, Planning Department. I'm bringing to you, sorry, I can't write and talk at the same time. There we go.
And we won't ask you to chew gum either.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Bringing to you a request for a vacation of a street right-of-way. This street is partially in the Bridges development, which is roughly on the corner of Southwest 27th and West Denton Road. A portion of this roadway, Southwest 31st Street, was actually dedicated to the county in 1997 through a final plat of some lots right along Denton Road. They're kind of oddly shaped lots. And this portion reached down roughly to the center line of the creek bed. So this portion was dedicated back in 97. In 2005, then when the Bridges came in and was developed, the majority of the subdivision was developed with private roadways. So you can see all of these roadways along here, and there are extensive internal roadways, are private. You can also see that they have quite a few outlots and other facilities that are in common ownership. They have a common wastewater system. So they have a homeowners association that's in place to maintain all of those facilities, and as additional units are added on, they'll be maintaining those and the additional roadways. And so I think the intent of that subdivision was always to have public roadways that would be, private roadways that would be maintained by that homeowners association. However, since this roadway was already partially platted to the north and outside of the Bridges subdivision, it didn't make sense to have private roadway on the south side and then have it change midstream, literally, to public roadway on the north. So this entire length of roadway was platted as public roadway. As the Bridges has developed, we have a policy in the county that there's a certain number of dwelling units that are safe to have on a single entry point. And the single entry point for the Bridges is over on Southwest 27th Street. So there was a cap placed on those units saying, can't go over 40 units. This is for safety purposes, for emergency response and all that sort of thing. This roadway would have to be constructed before they could go beyond those 40 units. The fact that it crosses Cardwell Branch at a real sharp diagonal there, you can see, and going from the city requirement, and this is in the city 3 mile and has to meet the city requirements, they would have to build the culvert from this right-of-way to this right-of-way line. That extends it well beyond the bed of the roadway and the actual area that's necessary to cross that further all the way over onto the sides. Vacating this and replatting it as a private roadway allows some flexibility in the design of that roadway. So a public roadway has to be built right-of-way to right-of-way. A private roadway, however, can be reduced so that culvert length almost half the length of the culvert. And it's an extensive bed in the creek there. It's a very large culvert that has to go through there. I believe it's actually a double box culvert. They are also going to have sidewalks that will be attached on one side. The landowners on both sides here, which are part of that old 1997 plat, have agreed to this vacation and I'm not sure that both of these lots aren't in private ownership now, or if they're still in the developer's ownership, but all adjacent properties have agreed to the vacation. And it will be replatted as a roadway, so this won't go into private ownership.
And Sarah, while it looks like it would possibly be a logical connection, this is, that road is something that is not the main access into the bridges now, and it is a lowlands, which would take considerable expense to build it up and probably would require mitigation.
Yeah, it will have to be built with all the floodplain permits, all the hydrology, all the hydraulics will have to be calculated. And the city's watershed management division of Public Works and Utilities will work with the applicant and developer on designing that, make sure it meets all of those standards.
Okay. Well, you've been brought up to date on that aspect of it. And what are the wishes of the county board? And then I think that maybe the county attorney, I'll let her come up and tell us the options, and they're going to need some direction if we do decide to vacate this.
Do you sound like, sir, from the testimony about it gives the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Brittany Barron's Deputy Lancaster County Attorney. I know that the real estate appraisal report prepared by the County Engineering Department is already at the clerk's office as part of the record that's submitted by the engineer with their report and study that's conducted. But I just want to make sure that that's entered into the record today, and just make note to the board that that appraisal amount that came back to the board was $50,000. At this point in time, it is necessary for the board, obviously, to make a decision whether you are going to approve the vacation or deny the vacation. At this point, you thereafter have to approve a resolution stating how you wish to dispose of the property. And there obviously are some consequences if the board doesn't explicitly choose a certain method to dispose of the property. You have essentially a multitude of options. You can let it revert to private ownership. You can sell it and specify who you want the property to be distributed to. We can work through in the coming weeks. I know sometimes it's a process going back and forth with the petitioner with regard to what the board requests as that purchase price, and we can do some communicating back and forth with the with the petitioner with regard to the sale, and bring that resolution forward in the coming weeks.
I like that option. I would make a motion that negotiations begin with the petitioner, and the board be apprised of those negotiations as they proceed.
Second.
Well, we can't make a motion. This is a public hearing at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
And so there may be other opinions,
Okay.
but that
direction.
we just wanted to make
Okay.
sure
Yeah,
that we had the
I'll move that
options
direction.
before you, so you saw the ramifications, and bring everybody up to date on the progress and what has transpired.
But at the close of the public hearing, we will need some direction as to how to move forward. So at the close of the public hearing, if you so choose to close it today, if you feel like there's additional information that the board needs, you could leave the public hearing open. There's nothing statutorily that requires us to move forward with a timeline. The resolution just has to be before the board with some resolution of the matter as soon thereafter as practicable after the public hearing. So if we're continuing to move forward with the negotiation process or gathering more information, those are all acceptable statutorily.
Thank you for that update. Are there others which would wish to testify at this public hearing on the request to vacate Southwest 31st Street, south of West Denton Road? Either those in favor, those in a neutral position, or those that are opposed? Sarah Hoyle?
Those that forgot to say something. Because this is in the 3-mile ETJ, I just thought I should let you know, those are county roads, but they're in the city's zoning jurisdiction. So our procedure then is to make sure that the city weighs in ahead of time in case there are issues of, future plans and that sort of thing. This was taken through the Planning Commission, who unanimously recommended approval, and the City Council as well voted to approve this on November 24th. So just thought I'd let you know that.
Oh, all the hurdles have been, it's your decision. Commissioner Amundson?
I guess that I would just like to give direction if I could, and that would be, or do we have to wait till?
Well, let's
Yeah,
wait
yeah,
till
yeah.
we close the public
Okay.
hearing.
Yeah.
Again, anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Anyone? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll take your request.
Yeah, I
Or
guess I just
Commissioner
would like
Shores.
to
Oh, no,
Yeah,
go ahead. Go
whatever,
ahead. No,
yeah.
go ahead.
I think I'm kind of, what I would like to do is to really keep the hearing open and with potentially more information being brought on each of the options that we might do.
Okay. And Commissioner Shore, your idea was a little bit more to maybe
at least-
grant the and
need
then
to
go ahead
begin-
into the
yeah, begin
negotiation
negotiations.
portion.
I think we certainly by beginning those negotiations aren't limiting our future, options
okay.
that would be available. The fact that all the property owners appear to be in agreement and I'm not a culvert expert, even though Pam's trying, but looking at that diagonal land, it certainly does sound like a design challenge, and it probably would be best handled by the local property owners at their cost as opposed to ours.
So we need to give the county attorney some direction here. Do we want to approve the vacation and ask the county attorney's office to enter into negotiations, or do you want to just leave the thing open and do?
I would move that we begin negotiations with the local property owners and request that the county attorney update us as soon as practical with regards to negotiations, but not to approve the vacation at this point.
Yeah,
I second
can agree
that.
with that,
Yeah.
yeah.
You second that?
Yeah, I
then?
would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, good clarity. Any further discussion? We close the public hearing on this item. We have a motion and a second. Again, any further discussion? Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is new business, I'm sorry, public hearing yet. 4B is issuance by the Hospital Authority Number 1 of Lancaster County, Nebraska, of its healthcare revenue refunding bonds. This is for Tabitha Inc., Series 2015B, solely for the purpose of Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended.
Okay, and Ms.
Nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning. My name is Colleen Duncan. I'm an attorney at Gilmore and Bell. We are bond counsel to the Hospital Authority on this refinancing. The purpose of the hearing and the resolution before you today is to satisfy requirements of the Internal Revenue Code for the tax-exempt status of interest on the bonds. With me this morning is Blaine Spady of Smith Hayes, and who's the underwriter of the bonds, and Darcy Brink, who's the Chief Financial Officer of Tabitha Inc. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, it certainly looks like it's going to be a good time, a favorable bond climate with interest rates on the decline. We don't know if they'll go lower, but they may go higher, so that's a good time. Could you, for the listening public, could you give us an idea of what they're going to be building out there and why it's important for the community, and possibly and state your name for the record as you come in?
My name's Darcy Brink.
I need to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. This is for refinancing, refunding of current bonds, and what we have done with the original bonds, and this is still an ongoing project. We have 2 greenhouses and a hospice house that we have on our main campus at 48th and Randolph for Tabitha. It's going to be significant savings interest-wise for Tabitha to do this refinancing.
So I have a feeling that you're going to just reinvest and do another capital improvement project with the savings.
We, at this time, we have several ideas, and serving the elders, obviously, in the community, and we don't have something specific as far as what we're going to use this particular interest for, savings for, but yes, we have several things in the works as far as what we'd like to move forward. The greenhouse projects that we have done on the Tabitha campus have had amazing outcomes for our elders, and so we'd like to continue that campus and grow on 47th Street there.
You're right. That's an excellent project out there. My mother was in it for a while, and what a wonderful opportunity we have for the elderly there.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone else which would like to testify on the issuance of Hospital Authority Number 1 refinancing of the bonds, either in favor, opposed, or in a neutral position? Once again, anyone that wishes to testify? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and what are the wishes of the board?
New business, item 5B.
I'll go ahead and read that. Resolution approving the issuance, sale, and delivery by Hospital Authority Number 1 of Lancaster County, Nebraska, not to exceed $3,300,000 principal amount of its healthcare revenue refunding bonds, project or Series 2015B, solely for the purpose of Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended and related matters.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me.
5C, new business, is a resolution in a matter of annual salary increases for appointed directors, assistant directors, bailiffs, the child support referee, and the district court law clerks. All salary increases are effective December 25th, 2014.
Move approval.
Second.
Anyone wishes to make comment on this item? Good morning, Gary.
I want to start with an FYI. I haven't signed the clipboard, so this is not part of my 5 minutes. There was somebody here
Will
earlier.
you identify your name for the record?
Well, I will do that.
Okay.
There was somebody here earlier, part of the crowd, I think for the swearing, that was sitting in the back, and they shed an accessory. It was a necklace, so I think it probably was a female. It was picked up off of the floor, and it sat on one of the seats or the ledges, and it's been taken out to wherever those things would go.
Okay, so if somebody's missing a necklace that was here for the swearing-in ceremony, check probably with the county clerk's office
You took it.
or the county commissioner's office, and we'll try to get back to the rightful owner. Thank you.
Chair Hudkins, members of the board, for the record, Gary Aldridge, ALDRIDGE, 7112 South 45, Lincoln, Lancaster County, Nebraska, 68516. I'm one of the owners. See it this way. A room this size with a person, a citizen, and owner in every seat behind me. I'll come back to that one. County Board approves more raises. Journal Star, 19 December 2014. This action at a board staff meeting occurred 18 December 2014. I read several times the minutes of that meeting. The discussion was spirited. The staff board meeting, it seems, is where the raucous and messy work of democracy occurs. A regular board meeting is pedestrian and predictable. No laboratory of democracy in that. That action in December, here today, is a done deal. The focus was pay, or rather a pay raise. Yes or no, and if yes, how much? A pay raise is a wonderful tool, a thumbs up, a pat on the back. It enhances self-image and ego. So does a paycheck. Some have no expectation of a regular pay raise or living adjustment. For those in production agriculture, a pay raise or living adjustment comes mostly or only from shrewdness, being able to outguess the weather and markets. Those odds are pretty long. Some were comfortable with the current salary schedule. Some were not. Some argued and advocated either for or against certain parts or portions of that motion. A, this will cost the county nearly $68K, and or B, that comparability or equivalency is a factor, and or C, the employees are absolutely critical to the success of our business. Some of that reasoning is valid. Most is nonsense. The flawed reasoning may well be due to an imperfect understanding of government. I have a very hard time accepting comparability or equivalency to justify this action. State law may establish and recognize some comparability mechanism. Fair enough. If this action fails, I do not accept that desks will be empty and phones unanswered in county offices the following day. Perhaps only I have confidence in the professionalism and commitment of county employees. People change jobs for any number of reasons. Some, most, or all are mercenary. And if an employee separates from Lancaster County because of or in spite of this action, that only creates an opportunity for another. To the notion that employees are absolutely critical to the success of our business, Lancaster County is a business, a rather large business. The critical part is not the county employee. Are county government employees important? They are. The absolutely critical part, the quid in quid pro quo, are the owners, like me. This action will not cost the county nearly $68,000. It will, after all, not cost the county even 1 penny. I look at my house and the assessed value of my house and opinion and think someone in the assessor's office or someone in the treasurer's office is a serious user of a Schedule I mind-altering pharmaceutical. Like CY 2015, in CY 2015, my wife and I, JTWROS, will shove to the treasurer $664 dedicated only to the operations of Lancaster County. Lancaster County operations eats the third largest slice of my property tax pie. All taxes paid to county government on real property with an assessed value of $24.5 million, $24.5 million, will be dedicated only to this pay action, and every year thereafter. 102 real property owners, I and 101 with property of similar or equal value, will see every tax dollar used to satisfy that $68K raise. Or see it this way, this room with an owner in every seat. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Okay, we do have a motion and a second before us. Any further discussion? Commissioner Ribble?
Well, I think I have a long history of being concerned about salaries, and I appreciate your comments, Gary. I think they were very informative, and I think we have to be careful. We forget sometimes that we do represent all the other owners in our county, and always have to be careful about monitoring and making sure that the raises are appropriate and fair and warranted. And we can't dispute that our employees are our number one asset. We're a company that is the largest for-profit entity in the city of Lincoln, and so we value our employees tremendously, but we have to be careful and mindful of how we pay and how we afford to pay and the burden that has to pay. So for this motion, as I voted on in our staff meeting, I will vote no.
Further discussion?
I just want to note that our Thursday staff meetings, where we do a lot of county business, are open to the public, and media is always present. And the article in the paper that Mr. Aldridge referred to was covered as a part of a Thursday staff meeting. So I feel that we are very open about all discussions and decisions that are made either at a staff meeting or at a formal county board meeting.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Raybold?
No.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 no. Is 5D, setting of the salary of Tara Parpart, Deputy County Attorney, at $58,834.88, effective December 30th, 2014.
County Attorney Joe Kelly, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning. To my left and to your right is Tara Parpart, P-A-R-P-A-R-T. She is our newest attorney. She will be starting in the juvenile division. She fills the vacancy created by Holly Parsley, who became a county court judge this week. Tara is a 2013 graduate at the University of Nebraska College of Law. She was on our A list then as a law clerk. We didn't have an opening. We do have an opening now. We're glad to have her. And since she graduated, she's been over at the Attorney General's office in the prison litigation section. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Can we have a motion in a second?
Oh, yeah. Move approval.
Approval.
Tara, I'd like to hear from you. Are you a Lincoln East graduate?
I am.
I
Yes,
thought you were.
2005.
Let's hear a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm from Lincoln, and I did go to East. I graduated in 2005. I went to the University of Nebraska for my undergrad and did criminology and criminal justice. And then, like Joe said, I went to the Nebraska College of Law, and I clerked at the county attorneys here while I was in law school. Then went to the Attorney General's office, have been doing inmate litigation for a little over a year, and then just recently came back to the county attorneys, so.
Great
Welcome,
experience.
and we're glad to see young talent stay in Nebraska. Any further discussion? Brent?
I was just going to say, it's usually my habit to welcome the new county attorneys because as a member of the bar, happy to have you. And I've just got to say, Joe, it seems like you have an opening about every other year because the judicial bench keeps plucking out your attorneys. I think that's a great testimony.
5 judgeships in 4 years.
That's
5 judges in
fantastic.
4 years.
I mean, that speaks to the quality of county attorneys we have, and I have no doubt Tara will be one of them. And you're clearly no stranger to thankless work doing the prison inmate litigation, but the juvenile side I know can be a little rough, a little challenging, and often kind of a thankless job. But we do appreciate you being here, and good luck.
Thank you.
So, I move approval of this.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Welcome aboard.
Good work, guys.
Congratulations.
5E is setting the salary of Teresa Nutzman, Deputy Public Defender, at $39,037 effective January 2nd, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. F is a resolution in a matter of the county maintenance of roads in Wilnard Acres, generally located at South 82nd Street and Firth Road.
Move approval.
Second.
County engineer, you got everything worked out that needed to be done with the culverts and everything?
So
Well-
when I was here, County Engineer Pam Dingman, when I was here a couple weeks ago, I talked to you about the list of these type of projects and the length of time they spend on the list. This subdivision is similar to those in that they had just a few things they needed to take care of. It has been re-inspected. Everything has been taken care of, and so we are recommending that this subdivision be taken over for maintenance.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins. Motion carries 5-0. G is a recommendation from the county sheriff and the purchasing department to award a bid per bid number 14-279 to Anderson Ford for 7 2015 Ford Utility Interceptor vehicles. Total cost of purchase is $193,781.
Move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Mr. Walla, County Purchasing.
I just wanted to point out over the next 3 items that are on here. The first one is a direct purchase with Anderson, but the other 2 are state of Nebraska contracts. And the reason that there is a difference between those is this year we tried something different. We put together a lot of the vehicle purchases between the city and the county into one bid on our own. And we compared the pricing then between what we received and what the state of Nebraska contracts were. And with the police vehicles between the city and county, we saved a significant amount of money. And then basically also saved the money by knowing that the state of Nebraska contract was our best option for these other vehicles. So.
Well, Bob, we appreciate your diligence in this matter, and we appreciate you working with Chief Deputy Blymeister to find the best bang for the buck for the county. And thanks for looking beyond the usual options.
Sure.
Okay. Need a motion on?
We have a motion.
And on G, any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. H is a recommendation from the county sheriff and purchasing to issue a purchase order to Lincoln Dodge Inc. for 1 Dodge Caravan from State of Nebraska contract 14132 OC. The total cost of the purchase is $21,190.
Move approval?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. I was a recommendation from the County Corrections and the Purchasing Department to issue a purchase order to Husco Auto Group for one Chevrolet Express passenger van from the state of Nebraska contract 14157OC. The total cost of the purchase is $26,141.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5J is a recommendation from the Purchasing Department to award a bid for bid number 14-273 to NMC Inc. for mobile electric generators for emergency and non-emergency use. The total cost of the purchase shall not exceed $50,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Commissioner Roba?
Raybold, I have a question for Bob. Bob, I wasn't able to determine with the supporting documents, is this for leasing equipment or renting equipment or actual purchase of the electric generators?
This is a rental, basically, just for emergency purchases. There's been a need over the last few years in different areas for us to bring in a big generator to run a building that's lost power or something like that. And then as we did it, we also put in the dollar value that you have there, because if there was ever a natural disaster or something like that where we needed to bring in a whole bunch and FEMA was involved, we'd be covered for all of the pricing that's associated with it.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's in Nebraska Machinery. Okay. Further questions? Call the roll, please.
Shore?
Yes.
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. K is a contract between RDO Truck Centers, Lancaster County, and the City of Lincoln for the annual requirements of construction and landfill equipment repair. Term of the contract is 1 year from the date of execution by all parties.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. L is an agreement with Lincoln Glass, Inc. for automatic sliding doors at the Lancaster County Treasurer's Office located at 625 North 46th Street. The county will pay $10,750 for the products and services.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5M is a contract between Jacobson Fire Equipment, Lancaster County, the City of Lincoln, and the Lincoln-Lancaster County Public Building Commission for fire extinguisher inspection, testing, and maintenance. Term of the agreement is 4 years from the date of execution by all parties.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Anna's network provider contract with Regional Behavioral Health Authority for the provision of certain behavioral mental health services at the Mental Health Crisis Center. The county shall be reimbursed of up to $1,121,086 for the services. Term of the agreement is July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2015.
Brittany Behrens, Deputy Lancaster County Attorney. Just wanted to bring to the board's attention that we received this contract back in probably August from Region 5, and it was the decreased amount. I think it was either $300,000 or $400,000. And there was some communications that were had back and forth with the Region 5 governing board, and my fault for the timeliness of the item. I thought that they would be sending us a revised contract to address that $300,000, but it's been brought to my attention that that isn't the plan, that it will be addressed outside of the network provider contract, that we are to move forward with a network provider contract at the original 1.1 million, and that we would be addressing that 300 or 400,000 through some other method of funding.
Make a motion that we hold this item.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's not my understanding of it as well.
And Scott Etherton contacted me last week and just asked that it be placed back on and asked where it was in the process.
Understood.
So I'm not positive of, it was my understanding that we would be getting a revised contract with that funding
Full
placed
amount.
back in. And that may be the case, that may not be the case, so.
And it was between $300,000 and $400,000.
I can't remember the exact amount.
And that commitment was made when we were in attendance at that region-wide meeting, and
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to see that contract at the same time we sign this contract. So,
Absolutely. So we'll have to do some communications there with CJ. Okay, we'll place that one on hold and go on to the next item, please, Mr. Clerk.
5O is a grant contract with the Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders counties to provide funding in the amount of $1,000 for tax preparation and filing service for low to moderate income individuals in Lancaster County. Term of the contract is October 9th, 2014 to October 10th, 2015.
Move approval.
Second?
Discussion?
I will just note that this came from the Human Service General Funds. The Community Action Partnership lost some grant funding they had to provide this service, which is really puts a lot of funds back into the community and back into these taxpayers' hands for these low-income individuals. And we're working to obtain a second site next year in southern Lancaster County.
Thank you for that explanation, Commissioner Shore. Any further discussion? Not, call the roll.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. P is an agreement with Continuum Employee Assistance to provide an employee assistance program for county employees. Term of the agreement is January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2017. The county will pay Continuum $20,196 per contract year.
Move approval?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Q is utility permit number 1234, allowing Unite Private Networks to install approximately 800 feet of fiber optic communications cable from 7201 North 98th Street north along the east side of North 98th Street to Cornhusker Highway, Highway 6. There is no cost to the county.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5R is a license agreement between Lancaster County and Tyrol and Kit Ellers to construct a fence upon county property along road right-of-way adjacent to Massacs First Edition, Block 4, Lot 1, Lancaster County, Nebraska.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Raybold?
I just have a question. Pam was, or maybe Brittany, was this recorded in the deed that, of this granting of them to construct the fence in the right-of-way so that when the property sells, this is carried with the property, or how does that handled?
Yeah, the request of the county board was that the license agreement be filed with the Register of Deeds. So after the board executes the license agreement is then filed against the property.
And is there any compensation to the county for allowing the property owner to have that licensing agreement to be in the right-of-way?
The board never directed that or never, that was not part of the discussions.
Okay.
And historically, I think we probably have a good, I'd say, half dozen of these on record, and compensation has never been part of the granting of the license.
Maybe in the future, this is something that be further discussed, because I know other jurisdictions do have a formula for charging for any property owner that may be encroaching in the city or county's right-of-way.
Good way to discourage it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I also do
Commissioner Ray?
Yeah, and I also do
Amundson?
have a question too. In regard to the, where they place the county, where they place the fence, okay? Is that going to carry with the property, or will the next landowner, when they buy it, will they understand that that is actually county property right there?
Yeah, the license agreement clearly specifies
that's what I
that
wanted to-
the license agreement does in fact run with the land, and then it'll be filed with the Register of Deeds against the property.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find. Okay, good, good.
I think that's the question that you're asking, is whether it will run with the land, the license agreement.
Yeah.
It is drafted that way.
So the next property owner will be will know.
They would have
exactly.
record notice
Yes,
from the Register
okay.
of Deeds. Yep.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. S is an agreement with Big Rig Truck Accessories for upgrade services on the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office Military Mine-Resistant Ambush Protected Vehicle. The county will pay $6,983.20 for the products and services.
Sheriff Wagner.
Well, good morning. I anticipate some questions from the board regarding this, but basically that vehicle is being converted as we can afford it into an emergency rescue vehicle. These modifications that are part of this professional contract just further that and help us transition it from its original use to an emergency rescue vehicle that we can use on when needed. And we'll note that the funds there are coming out of asset forfeiture, so there are no tax dollars, no general fund dollars involved in this.
You knew that was going to be a question, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions for the sheriff?
Move approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins? Motion carries 5-0. 5T is a grant contract with Lincoln Public Schools for $836 to fund truancy diversion programs at various Lincoln Public Schools. Term of the agreement is July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2015.
Move approval.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. U is a mini grant contract application and award with Nebraska Office of Highway Safety in an amount of $7,000 for 2 in-car camera systems for the Lancaster County Sheriff.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. V is amendment to County Contract C-14-394 with Insight Public Sector, Inc. for computers, enterprise hardware, software, and services. The amendment renews the agreement for an additional 1-year term from October 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. W is an amendment to County Contract C-13-273 with Lawman's and Shooter Supply, Inc. for a corrections uniform accessories. The amendment provides for the price increases per attachment A.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. X is amendment to County Contract C-12-653 with Egan Supply Company for their annual supply of ice melt. The amendment provides for the price increases for attachment A.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5Y is amendment to County Contract C-13-39 with Whitehead Oil Company for the annual supply of motor fuels. The amendment renews the agreement for an additional 2-year term from January 24th, 2015 to January 23rd, 2017.
Move approval.
Second.
And while the agreement agrees to the supplier, the price is formulated, so hopefully we'll get some of this downturned too. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Z is amendment to County Contract C-13-2 with Fastenal Company for the annual supply of snow plow nuts, bolts, and washers. The amendment renews the agreement for an additional 1-year term from January 8th, 2015 to January 7th, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Shore?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5AA is amendment to County Contract C-13-571 with Hamilton Equipment Company for the rental of a Bobcat S-750 skid loader. The amendment extends the term of the agreement from December 9th, 2014 to December 10th, 2015.
Move approval.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Raybold?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Smoyer?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. BB is amendment to County Contract C-14-360 with Kenwood USA Corporation for the annual supply of public safety communications equipment. The amendment renews the agreement from October 30th, 2014 to March 31st, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. CC is amendment to County Contract C-11-94 with Hewlett Packard Company for computer equipment, peripherals, and related services. The amendment renews the contract for an additional 3-month term from January 1st, 2015 to March 31st, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Hudkins. Motion carries 5-0. DD is amendment to County Contract C-12-461 with Mr. Yards and More LLC for the annual requirements of snow and ice removal services. The amendment adds additional city and public building commission service locations.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson, Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5EE is amendment to County Contract C-12-59 with Skycopters Inc. for the annual requirements of aerial weed control of Phragmites. The amendment extends the agreement for an additional 1-year term from January 31st, 2015 to January 30th, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. FF is amendment to County Contract C-13-272 with Alomar Uniforms for Corrections Uniform Accessories. Amendment provides for the price increases per attachment A.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer, Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. GG is amendment to County Contract C-13-270 with Ray O'Haran Company for Corrections Uniform Accessories. Amendment provides for the price increases per attachment A.
Move
Approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. HH is fourth grant contract addendum to County Contract C-12-385, amending the grant contract between Lancaster County and Spring Creek Courier Audubon to extend the grant term to July 31st, 2015, and to provide for partial payment of work already completed.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. II is a request from the Joint Budget Committee to approve the Keno Human Services Prevention Fund recommendations, round 39.
Move approval.
Second.
And I want to thank Commissioner Shore and Raybold for the work that they've done on this committee.
And we are going to have several openings on the Keno Prevention Fund Advisory Group. So if there's anyone interested in serving, you can forward those names to the office.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins. Motion carries 5-0. Oh, excuse me. KK is a political subdivision tort claim filed against Lancaster County Corrections by Brian Gouch for lost property in an amount of $180.
Based on the recommendation of the Director of Corrections, I move we deny.
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Hudkins. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chair, before we go to consent items, I just wanted to thank the clerk's office. Larry and I have been doing this a long time. We rarely get to double KK, and that's a lot of work for the clerk's office with the documentation, a lot of reading for Dan, and I know they're down to staff members, so thank you.
And I think we are really ending Brent Smoyer on a whopper of a meeting, so it's been.
We're getting our money's worth out of both of you today.
You gotta send some guys off.
Okay. And the county attorney as well for their assistance in preparing the agenda and all the documents. I didn't mean to leave you out.
John, this is what we get for Christmas vacation.
That's
You gotta
right.
catch up. So, thank you, Clerk's office and County Attorney's office, everybody. Thank you all for your patience.
Next is consent items, right-of-way contract with Ron and Isla Diner, Northwest 84th and West Adams in the amount of $30. Receive and place on file the following monthly reports. County Sheriff for November 2014, County Clerk for December 2014, Clerk of District Court for December 2014. Setting the following public hearings for Tuesday, January 13th, 2015 at 10:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. County Text Amendment Number 14020, an amendment to Article 10 of the Lancaster County Zoning Resolution and Personal Wireless to Telecommunications Facilities, and amendment of various sections of County Resolution Number R1362, procedures for regulation of on-site wastewater treatment systems in Lancaster County, and rescinding County Resolution Number R-2-31.
Move approval of the consent items.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 7, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
I would like to say that we have a guest from Denmark in the audience this morning, and welcome, Mr. Christensen. Hope you found it informative, even though it was long. Okay, anyone else wishes to make comment? Okay, proceed.
Next is announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, January 8th, 2015 at 8:30 a.m. in the Bill Luxford Studio of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold their next regular meeting on Tuesday, January 13th, 2015 at 10:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building, with the Board of Equalization immediately following. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live. It is rebroadcast on Tuesday and Saturday on 5 City TV, Cable Channel 5. In addition, the meeting may be viewed on the internet at lancaster.ne.gov under 5 City TV, Video on Demand, or 5 City TV on YouTube.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We'll now open the Lancaster County Board of Equalization meeting for Tuesday, January 6th. Will you begin the agenda, please, Mr. Clerk?
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approve the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, December 16th, 2014.
Move approval.
Second.
Are there additions or corrections? Seeing none, call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 is motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Alon Chapel SDA Church, Central States Conference, Goodwill Industries serving Southeast Nebraska, Great Plains Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, Madonna Rehabilitation Hospital, People City Mission, and Vital Services, Inc.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Raybold,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to County Board of Equalization business not on agenda may do so at this time.
Anybody wishes to make public comment? If not, proceed.
Number 4 is executive session for pending litigation.
Motion to enter executive session at 12:30 p.m. For the purpose of discussing pending litigation and protecting the public interest.
We have a motion made and seconded.